there nothing there? No, there is something there. But look. So it looks like you can jump in there. But what's this? You can it can actually kind of scare people, but you can put a lot of these, and you can get them in survival as well. Look, you do this. Boop. And then now if I go like this, and like this. Oh, it was really fun. Been a while since I've been here. You guys need some blocks. You think you're getting out? No, you're not. You're like, Jamie, yeah, you're late. Oh, no, you're not. You're a bad person, Jamie. I will burn you! What's this? And you can pretend that. What's this? What's this? You can put them up here. Then break. I'm basically just doing like a pranking video kind of thing right now. But you can. You can put a fire up here. And look, it looks like a flowing fire. And then put a fence that's on fire. Do. And then you can put like another one here. Do. But then you can put some down here like this to pretend that there's more fires. Like there's 4 fires and you have to break through them and stuff, but they're like. So that's basically me showcasing them. I'm trying to get Kai on. Oh yeah, I forgot. I really want to show you guys stuff that I know how to do. Like, do you know like command blocks? I know how to get them, but I don't. But you can get all this stuff. Okay. Wait, I usually get command blocks. I need to just check something. Because I usually get and can't get them.
there's no doubt that he's going to be joining forces with
Cam, just
Groot.
watching your
In just his brief scene alone, it's immediately established that he's also after Spider-Man and wants to team up. So to recap, at the start of Far From Home, we know that both these baddies are still in prison together, and the new Shocker is still floating around out there somewhere too, giving us a solid lead on at least 3 out of 6 Sinisters. Let's see who else is going to surface in Far From Home. In the beginning of the new movie, Peter and his friends just got themselves blipped out of existence for 5 years by Thanos. The very fabric of reality's been shaken. Whoopsie! But no worries, the Avengers figured out that pesky time travel business, and now everything is back to normal. With everyone now completely acclimated to aliens and magic, and Tony Stark destroying huge sections of major cities, it turns out to be the perfect place for Mysterio to enter the fray. With the world willing to believe literally anything at this point, Quentin Beck and his organization of background players from all the past movies decide to create their own superhero. A soldier from another universe, Mysterio. And if there was ever a superhero slash villain perfect for the internet age, this guy is it. He's fake, he only does things for the clout, his entire reputation depends on everything being on video, because if there was indeed a true Avengers level threat, Mysterio would just be flat out useless. In short, Mysterio would just make a great YouTuber. That would be funny if it wasn't completely depressing. Anyway, chalk Mysterio up as another core member of our new Sisterhood of the Traveling Sinisters. Now, I know the first thing you're gonna say, but we saw Mysterio die at the end of Far From Home, which yes, is absolutely true. I totally think Quentin Beck is dead, despite my best efforts in researching for this episode to prove otherwise. But in Far From Home, we're very clearly shown a shot of his team taking the computers and drives that retain all of Mysterio's files. I mean, think about it. They were pulling the Mysterio shtick before they got control of Edith. Edith just enabled them to do it at a bigger scale. And throughout the movie, they very intentionally show Quentin Beck and Mysterio separately. Mysterio is just a projection, a drone of what this superhero suit looks like. So not only can Mysterio come back, that sort of plot line is also canon in the source material. Mysterio's original plot in the early days of the Spider-Man comics, starting back in issue 13, is pretending to be a good guy, exposing Spider-Man's true identity to J. Jonah Jameson, and then faking his own death, which, wouldn't you know it, all happen to be the key beats we see him do in Far From Home. So we should consider staying true to his comic book origins and remember that he was also an OG alum of the Sinister Six, taking part in the first 5 iterations of the group, taking a break for 6 and 7, and then coming back strong in 8 and 10, meaning that Mysterio is taking up our slot number 4. Now, from here, our job gets a little harder, because we have to get to villains that we haven't directly seen yet, but ones that I think the movies are definitely setting us up for. The first open slot, I think, will take advantage of Marvel's newest playthings, the Skrulls. Captain Marvel was keen on showing off the Skrulls and how well they're able to infiltrate the ranks of normal humans, but it was odd to see them also show up in Far From Home, a story they seem pretty disconnected from. Why would Marvel be showing us this now, at this point in the movie? Well, I think it boils down to 2 reasons, both of which go back to that inflection point I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. First, they know that Spider-Man is and will always be their biggest hero. He's Marvel's equivalent of Batman. I mean, sure, Iron Man was big for the movies, but Spider-Man is just iconic. He was big before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was big before Iron Man really changed the superhero scene. So if the Skrulls are going to play a big role in the future of the MCU, they need to be introduced to mainstream audiences who may not have seen Captain Marvel through a more mainstream movie, a Spider-Man movie. So there's your reason 1. But there is a second and more relevant reason that applies to our theory today. You see, there just so happens to be a Spider-Man villain with a very Skrull-like power set. He's a shapeshifter who can disguise himself behind the face of whoever he wants. In fact, the Chameleon was Spider-Man's first ever villain, introduced in Spider-Man #1 way back in 1963, and according to some fan theories, he's never actually appeared on the big screen before, which leaves the pathway totally open to bringing him in via shapeshifters that we already know exist in this universe, the Skrulls. So all you would need to slot him into the Sinisters is a Skrull gone rogue, one with a chip on their scaly gray shoulder. That's not just speculation. We may already have him identified. Many fans believe they've already spotted this guy in the MCU right here, the guard who's sent to surveil Peter while he's in Europe. It's a small detail, but his name is Dimitri, and wouldn't you know it, but that exact name, weird call, is the exact identity of the alien in the comics. Give this man a pledge pin, ladies and gentlemen. He is our number 5. Which leaves us with one last plot to film. Honestly, it could go in any number of really cool directions. When it comes to the Spider-Man movies thus far, the MCU has had a habit of tricking us. They know we know these stories and characters. That's what happens when a hero gets rebooted so frequently in such a short amount of time. So to keep us off balance, they're, to borrow a phrase from the show that must not be named, subverting expectations. They're reinventing or reimagining the good and bad guys in ways that we don't expect to keep everything fresh and new. Aunt May isn't old. MJ doesn't stand for Mary Jane. And Peter's biggest bully Flash isn't a typical jock, he's just an even bigger nerd. In much the same way, there are villains creeping around here that we may not even see coming. For example, you remember one of Peter's relatively unmemorable teachers back in Homecoming? Well, her name is Mrs. Warren, which could be a name picked totally at random, or it could be that she's a reimagined version of Miles Warren, Peter's biology professor starting in Spider-Man 148, who ends up becoming one of the Sinister Six villains, the Jackal. A villain, mind you, who goes on to clone Peter, his dead girlfriend, and his dead parents in a plotline that wasn't super well received by comic fans, but still, she's there and waiting to be swiped right on, so go ahead, Sinister Six, take a chance. It's also been pointed out by others that Spider-Man's been seen battling the Manfredi crime family, leading us to believe that the comic book villain Silvermane, who's associated with that family in the comics, may also be floating around along with a whole slew of his accomplices. There are plenty of other Easter eggs like these, and they might materialize down the line, but here's the thing. None of these guys are cutting the mustard for me. Up until now, everyone we've talked about we've either seen before, like Mysterio or Vulture, or just a backup player, like Shocker or Chameleon. We need a big name. We need a major player. The Sinister Six needs its new lead singer, its headliner. We need ourselves either Doc Ock or, more likely, the Green Goblin. And of the two, I think the Green Goblin is all set up and ready to roll out. Not only is the Green Goblin one of the most frequent members of the Sinister Six, but because the Goblin is usually a member of the Osborn family, who are tech billionaires just like Tony Stark, they tend to have ties to most of the other villains in the comics, and likewise in the new cinematic universe where technology is fueling a lot of these characters' powers, they would have connections in that realm too. The Osborn technology would help supplement what the Vulture's doing. The Osborn technology would help supplement the Mysterio gang. The Osborn technology would help make the Shocker stronger. But now let's go back to something I said earlier about subverting expectations. Remember Flash, the nerd bully? He is very clearly being set up for a future plotline. Throughout the movie, there's this ongoing thread about his relationship with his parents. A weird text message thread with them, and that one scene when they return home and he's met by their driver. In both scenes, Flash is being ignored by his parents. They're absent. They've forgotten about him. It's also clear that they have a very formal relationship, with Flash having to call them father and mother. It's very similar to the way that Harry Osborn reacts with his father Norman Osborn in most other Spider-Man stories, including the Sam Raimi movies.
Peter may introduce my father, Norman Osborn.
Flash's family is also very...
Technically, this is my dad's car, sir.
Just like subverted in the next Spider-Man movie is that Flash's last name is gonna be revealed as Osborn. Matt! What? I'm building up a good flow here. You're throwing off my dramatic reveal.
Well, here's a more dramatic reveal for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's not in the script or the credits, but...
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you tell me earlier? Because even if he is Flash Thompson, there's a very real chance that he could have been just adopted by the Osborns. That sort of angle would have support from the comics. In the story, Norman Osborn takes Flash under his wing, gives Flash a job, makes him feel like part of the family, and ultimately turns him against Spider-Man, who he was formerly idolizing, just like we see Flash idolizing Spider-Man in Far From Home. So there you have it, friends. We got ourselves our 6 villains: Vulture, Vulture, Shocker, Scorpion, Chameleon, Mysterio, and Green Goblin, all set and ready to go. But to close things out here, I think I'll put myself even further out on a limb. I think it's worth pointing out that there's one villain in this group who is different than all the others, Vulture. Vulture is very clearly established to be a family man.
I built this whole place because I got people I have to look after.
He's not about world domination or being a renowned superhero. Heck, he doesn't even want to attract the attention of the Avengers.
If you bring damage control for the Avengers down here,
He's not in it for the clout like Mysterio. He's not in it for revenge. He's only in it to take care of his wife and his daughter. The same daughter who Spider-Man saved at the end of Homecoming, and who then went on to rescue Vulture himself during the final battle. And doesn't. So when faced with the option of teaming up alongside a bunch of villains who are bent on world domination, well, he might initially go along for the ride. It's my prediction that Vulture will instead defect, to instead protect someone who shares his values and goals, someone who still appreciates helping out the little guy, the local neighborhood. In the end, Vulture is gonna be the one to end up protecting Spider-Man against the rest of the Sinister Six. Anyway, that is more than enough speculation and fan fiction for the day. I mean, I'm already trying to make calls on a movie that hasn't even been announced to exist yet. Let me slow my roll a little here. Regardless of how it all plays out, I'm excited for this third installment in the Spider-Man franchise. I actually love these movies. They are some of my favorite in the MCU. And whether you agree or not, I hope you like watching and theorizing about where things go next. Because it's a superhero movie. It's all just for fun. Just like this is all just a theory. A film theory. And if you want to see more Spider-Man content, check out this video on the left where I analyze the physics of Spider-Man's deadly web slinging. It turns out that Spider-Man should have died multiple times over, regardless of his super strength. Or, while you're here, make sure you click the button on the right to subscribe. I've got... Well, scientists at the University of Wyoming designed, get this, spider goats. No joke, like splicing together the genes of spiders with actual goats, they created barnyard creatures that could spin their own webs. I mean, Batman has his bat cow, let's get spider...
Alright, I'm back. Jamie, why are you going for so long? What? I'll be done in a minute. I'm just turning off now. Wait. Dad, I'm coming back up.
Screaming goats, then fainting goats, and now spider goats? Seriously, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
Dad,
Hello, Internet.
I'm just trying to do something real quick.
Theory, the show whose intro starts with a topic I have yet to cover in the 2 years of this channel's existence, simply because I was so confident that we'd actually get to covering it. And today, we're finally going to talk about radioactive Spider-Man. Now, before we get into today's theory, let me just say the new movie looks incredible. Though, of course, I can't say for certain since, you know, I wasn't invited to the previews. Unlike literally every other movie YouTube channel out there. And also, Smosh Games, for some reason, who, I love you guys, but, I don't know, man. Mickey Mouse is just trying to grind my face into the dirt with his oversized, cartoonish yellow shoe. You suck, man. Anyway, enough about me and the chip on my shoulder about being one of the largest film channels on YouTube, but still not getting invited to events like that. Today, it is time to whip out your theory shooters, because get this. Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider